The wait is finally over, and the Kevin Stefanski era in Atlanta has officially kicked off with a press conference that has sent shockwaves through the entire fan base. We are talking about a total shift in philosophy, a bombshell coaching announcement that no one saw coming, and a vision for this roster that could either save this franchise or leave us stuck in the same cycle of mediocrity. Are we actually looking at the leader who breaks the 8-year playoff drought, or is this just another case of history repeating itself? Before we break down every single controversial detail from this presser, do me a massive favor and hit that like button, share this video with every frustrated fan you know, and subscribe to the channel right now to join the 50,000 strong who want the unfiltered truth about our team. Now let's get into the meat of this, because Stefanski did not hold back, and frankly, either will I. My initial reaction to this opening performance is a solid B-. It wasn't a disaster, but it certainly wasn't the home run many were hoping for. There were moments where he spoke about ideology and roster construction that sounded like music to my ears, but then he took a turn into some questionable territory that left me scratching my head. It feels a lot like the hire itself, a safe, middle-of-the-road move that leaves us wondering if the ceiling is actually high enough to compete for a championship. The biggest takeaway from his opening statement was his desire to cultivate what he calls a brotherhood. He wants to build on the existing core, identifying that this defense is already a high-level unit, and that there's a young, explosive group of players on offense ready to pop. But here is where he lost me a little bit. He mentioned that he spent his first few days just trying to get to know the players and pick their brains, to see what kind of athletes they are. My question to Kevin is this: why do you need to pick their brains? You should already know exactly who Bijan Robinson is. You should know that he is a generational talent who needs the ball in his hands. If I'm walking into that locker room as the new head coach, I'm not asking questions, I'm setting expectations. I'm telling these men that accountability is the only thing that matters. I'm telling them that I will be demanding of them, and they should be just as demanding of me. Think about what Ben Johnson did in Chicago. He walked in and immediately declared that poor practice habits and laziness would not be tolerated. He guaranteed that if you don't practice the right way, you won't see the grass on Sunday. That is how you change a culture. We need a leader who takes charge of the locker room immediately, not someone who wants to have a polite chat about how we can slightly improve. We haven't smelled the postseason in nearly a decade. Polite isn't going to get us there. It's going to take every ounce of effort and a complete buy-in to a new, rigorous standard. Speaking of the question of the day, I want to hear from you right now. Based on everything you've heard from Kevin Stefanski so far, what letter grade would you give his opening press conference? Drop your grade in the comments below. Is it an A for effort, or are you sitting in the C or D range because you're tired of the nice guy approach? Let's get a real conversation going in the comments. Moving into the actual football side of things, the X's and O's, Stefanski made it clear that this offense is going to be built around the run game. Specifically, it's going to be the Bijan Robinson show. He talked extensively about his love for multiple tight end sets and a heavy emphasis on play action. This is a massive departure from what we saw under the previous regime with Zach Robinson, where play action felt like an afterthought. To make this work, you need a brick wall up front, which is why the hire of Bill Callahan is so significant. Callahan is arguably the most respected offensive line coach in the business. If anyone can take a middle-of-the-pack unit and turn them into a foundational force, it's him. But then came the absolute bombshell of the day. Stefanski officially announced that Tommy Rees will be the one calling the plays for this offense. I'm going to be honest with you, this feels like a massive gamble. Tommy Rees is a former Notre Dame quarterback who most recently served as the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. In the 2025 season, that Browns offense ranked 30th in the league. Now, to be fair, that team was a mess. Their offensive line was a joke, and they had almost zero help at wide receiver. They were essentially playing butt naked football out there with no protection. The concern here is that Stefanski himself admitted that Rees is still very green when it comes to calling plays at the NFL level. Why would you say that out loud? If you're introducing your play caller, You talk about his brilliance and his upside, not his lack of experience. Fans are traumatized by learning processes. We don't want to watch a coordinator figure it out while our stars are in their prime. Stefanski has already given up play-calling duties twice in his career, and both times it ended poorly. If it failed in Cleveland, why are we bringing that same experiment to Atlanta? Rees is known to be player adaptable and loves pre-snap motion, which is great, but the execution is everything. Stefanski needs to ensure that Michael Penix Jr. or Kirk Cousins, whoever is under center in 2026, is a complementary piece to the run game. We need Bijan to hit 2,000 rushing yards. We need the passing game to build off that dominance, not the other way around. If we make our quarterback the focal point again without a dominant run game to lean on, we are just asking for more 7 and 10 seasons. One thing that did get me excited, however, was Stefanski's comments on the tight end position. He mentioned how much he values 12 and 13 personnel. That's 2 or even 3 tight ends on the field at once. This is what the best defensive minds in the league like Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan, and Sean McVay are doing right now. It creates mismatches and forces defenses to stay honest. And here is the read between the lines moment. There is a certain Pro Bowl tight end hitting free agency who has played under Stefanski before and is looking for a massive role. I am talking about David Njoku. With Kirk Cousins restructuring his contract and freeing up significant cap space for 2026, don't be surprised if the team is aggressive on day one of free agency to bring Njoku into this system. Imagine an offense with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and David Njoku. That is a nightmare for any defensive coordinator. As we look toward the future, the question remains, are you actually excited? You almost have to be, because if you aren't, these next 2 years are going to feel like an eternity. That's the reality of the NFL. Every new coach gets a leash. I gave the previous staff a full year before I started calling for change, and Stefanski deserves the same. He needs 1 year to implement the system and a second year to produce undeniable results. The clock is already ticking. The fans are restless, the talent is there, and the excuses have officially run out. It's time for Kevin Stefanski to prove he's more than just a B- hire. He needs to lead this team back to the promised land, or we will be looking for a new identity all over again. That's all for today's deep dive into the state of the franchise. I'll be back soon with more analysis on how this coaching staff is coming together, and what moves we can expect as we head into the draft and free agency. Until next time, stay loyal, stay loud, and rise up.